Learn from my mistake. Are you tired of hearing the same old advice when it comes to real estate? Do you want to learn from the biggest and baddest mistakes in the industry? Then welcome to Learn from My Mistake, the podcast that brings you real estate professionals from all over, sharing the biggest blunders and how to avoid them. I'm one of your hosts, Jake Remillard, and I'm joined by my partner, Marie Baginski. We're here to give you the inside scoop on what not to do in the real estate game. From brokers to investors, we've got it all. We're not just here to tell you about our guest failures, though. We're here to help you learn from them so you can make the right moves when it counts. So buckle up and get ready to hear some juicy stories and expert advice you won't find anywhere else. This is Learn from My Mistake. New episodes drop every week. Don't miss out. Learn from my
What's going on?
All right. So, Jake, do we know what episode this is?
I was actually just thinking that. I think we normally have it up here, like in the top, but I think we're like 13.
13. I was going to say 15, but somewhere around there.
Hopefully I'm lucky 13.
Right? He's like, I'll take that. So this week, again, I'm Marie Baginski and my co-host, Jake Remillard, with that amazing intro voice.
Yes.
Oh, yes. I love giving Jake credit for that. He's like, learn from my fuck up.
She tells me all the time I have a face for radio, so it's nice.
You have a voice for radio. Come on. All right. So we are live this week with our guest, Dominic Wood. And Dominic and I have known each other for a while now, at least a year. We've gotten into some shenanigans together, some fun times at many a networking event. But Dominic, for everyone who's listening or watching, just give a brief intro. Tell them kind of how you got started in real estate and what your main focus is.
Sure. So my name is Dominic Wood. I'm in Seattle, Washington. I work in Seattle. I'm also an investor in Arizona as well as in Mexico. I started learning how to invest in real estate by reading this book behind me, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, back in like 2006. And I started taking real estate education courses way back then. It took me a while. I was not one of those guys that just jumped in and did it right away. It took me several years to get into the game of things. But over the last 10 years, I went from doing dipping my toe in commercial, working as an investor analyst, helping agents buy and sell properties in the commercial space. Then I went into property management, commercial property management, doing multifamily properties, and worked for a developer for many years and kind of helped him in his business. And then I wanted to go out and venture on my own and partner with one of my best friends. We went out and built and remodeled. Well, I should say we fixed and flipped. We flipped houses for 7 years. And over the last couple of years, I kind of transitioned from flipping houses into building a portfolio. I realized that flipping houses wasn't exactly getting me to the passive rental, that side of things, really being an investor. And eventually we decided to test the waters and keep a few properties. And from there, I just have continued to build a rental portfolio. And that's where I'm at now. And the next phase is going into multifamily and commercial. And so I have a lot more to learn. There's a lot more ways to level up. And that's why I know Marie and Jake, because we are part of multiple masterminds together, that we surround ourselves with some of the best real estate investors in the world. And I wanted to, if I want to be in the higher levels of the game, I need to surround myself with the higher levels of the game. But I've fumbled myself along, and I've had so many different partners and investors and I've flipped probably around 45 houses in my career. Probably remodeled or built over 50.
Wow.
And here we are. So my goal at this point is, in my business model at this point, is to build a luxury lifestyle business model. And so I have a company called Grandeur Getaways. And what we do is we partner with investors, and we build and remodel homes to convert into vacation rentals or short-term rentals or just rentals. They all kind of vary depending on the property. And as a licensed real estate agent in the city of Seattle, I'm a luxury agent. So I work with clients who are looking for typically $1 million plus homes, and I work in that, which is most homes in Seattle, luckily, because it's a pretty high end market here. But but my day job is being an agent. My investor job is building vacation rentals.
Yeah. So just out of curiosity, so I know you went from fix and flip, you said, into more of holding the rental portfolio. And I know of some of your recent wins on some of these luxury vacation rentals.
Mm-hmm.
Is that where you started, or do you have long-term rentals as well?
So when I first started getting into the rental game, we started out with luxury, almost too high of luxury. And those are some of the mistakes and lessons that I learned. Was we were flipping $1 million plus homes. We had all of our properties, as we kind of gradually got more and more in tune with our abilities and our skill sets as a construction team and building team, we just did higher end properties. And so in Seattle back in 2017, 18, we decided to keep some of our $1 million homes, and we put them on Airbnb, and they immediately just went gangbusters. And we made 15 grand in our first month on like one house. And we were like, wow, we're freaking geniuses. Look at this house. It was $1.3 million by the, kind of what we had there. And then we said, all right, let's get another one. So we built out this super luxury portfolio. They were cruising along. Seattle at the time was doing really well with tourism and people moving here, wanting to buy houses and wanting to move here, and their companies would pay for them to stay in these luxury houses, because a lot of times those are like corporate exec for Amazon and Microsoft coming in. So we were having a really good run. And then when the pandemic hit, that's when they shut down Airbnb. Everybody left all of our properties. We had 6 months of rentals, and they all just disappeared. And that's when we were like, oh crap, we have like 3 months of reserves. We need to fire sell these houses. We couldn't put a renter in a long-term position there that would cover the mortgage. And we realized we didn't really have a choice but to sell this, and let's try to recoup our investment money from there. But that was one of the biggest, I don't want to call it a mistake. It's just a learning lesson where I had to go fire sell these houses, 2 out of 3. We kept one, and lick my wounds and think, what happened there? What went wrong there? Why didn't I plan ahead for that? And that's when.
Well, I don't think anyone planned ahead for the pandemic and COVID. Let's just put that out there, Dominic. I don't think that was poor planning on your part.
100%. You're right. And you're right. And it's like things you could never imagine. And luckily I didn't get bit that hard, right? Like we sold the houses. We didn't like lose a bunch of money, but the whole concept was like, well, that seemed like it was a good concept. How do we kind of, think about this and figure out a better way? That's when I bought another house. I went up to Whidbey Island. It's an island outside of Seattle, about 30 minutes by ferry. And I bought this cute little house for like, 150,000, 200,000 or something. And I remodeled this house, and I was just kind of going back into the fix and flip phase. I was like, I need some money. I'm going to go sit on this island in this house with my kid and just kind of relax and just be away from Seattle, because Seattle was dead. There was nothing to do around town. Mm-hmm. And I fell in love with being on the beach. I fell in love with just being away from the town, and I fell in love with this island and remodeled this house. I slowly remodeled. It took a year. Once it was able to kind of like stay in, we just kind of lived there for sometimes, and the kid could go to the swimming pool down the street, or we could just hang on the beach. And, then at the end of the year, it was like time to sell. I had a hard money loan, and I was like, cool, I can sell this house. And I put it on the market, and one of my friends called me, and she said, I want that house. That house is awesome. Like, you decked it out. I hired, the stager to come furnish it and everything. And she came in. I was like, well, come up to the house, check it out. She's like, put it under contract. She came up, I sold it to her. But she walks in the house. She goes, I like look what you did to this house is beautiful. I love what you did to this house. Can I buy all the furniture? And I was like, that's let me ask. I don't know. No one's ever asked me that before. So I called this staging company. They said, yeah, you can buy most of it. And that's when like the light bulb went off. And one light bulb, I'll share a couple more light bulbs that came off, went on. She bought the house, and I made a nice pretty penny on it. but she asked me to help her convert it to an Airbnb, right?
Mhm.
Well, at the time,
Mhm.
everybody in Seattle was going up to this island because everyone wanted to get away. So
Right.
we turned the Airbnb light on for this house that's away from Seattle that doesn't have these restrictions, where the restrictions in Seattle were like you couldn't even turn your Airbnb on if you wanted to. They literally just shut it down. And
Wow.
that's the crappy thing about the city of Seattle is they have all these stupid restrictions for rent for long-term rentals and short-term rentals. You can only own one vacation rental in Seattle, and you can own two, but you have to live in one of them, and that's it. You can't get a
Mm.
permit to get any further than that.
Wow.
Wow.
So the amount of restrictions alone, then we had 3, was like we had to, each of our partners had to create a separate LLC to like hopefully get an extra permit to get those ones.
Yeah.
So just the restrictions alone was one lesson. Like find a location that doesn't have these stupid rules that restrict you from being able to be an investor, whether it's long term or short term.
Yeah.
Um,
And that's one of the things that I'm assuming led you to the Phoenix area, because now I know you have
yeah,
several short-term rentals here.
exactly. We're almost there. So the when I sold this house to her, I sold it to her for 550,000. Right. So she gets a loan. Her mortgage payment is like $2,000, $2,200, whatever it was. She flips the switch and immediately like $10,000 a month she's making on this thing. It just goes gangbusters. The
Yeah.
house is the most pimped out house on the water in the neighborhood, and it's just in a neighborhood full of waterfront homes.
Yeah.
And up on the island back at this period of time, homes hadn't become a big thing yet. It was a secret little niche of homes, and now you can't find a house. Now the house across the street just sold for $1 million. And this is only
Wow.
a couple years later, right? So the secret's out. That area is everyone wants a house up there now. But the lesson that I learned through the whole process was, okay, she bought that house. She's going to charge, her mortgage is $2,000. She's making $10,000 a month on it. And even if it's a slow period of time, it's not going to break her bank, right?
Right.
Even in the slow time in winter, she can put a tenant in there for 6 months and cover the mortgage payment. And it seems like an obvious lesson to learn, but a lesson that I had to literally go through losing $1 million homes, finding this home, selling it to her, and
Yeah.
realizing through her process that she's winning. And I could have made in 15 months the amount of money that I would have profited on that house, right? I could have made
Yeah.
$10,000 a month on my own and forever instead of selling it to her. So I was like, damn it, I wish I didn't sell that to her. But the lesson was still learned. So what I did then was I went to Arizona because Cole Hatter and Cody Sperber were hosting events down there. And Cole called me and said, come down to Arizona, come to these events. And that's when I first got an introduction to the Cody Sperber team and the office that they have, and understanding that the wholesale market down there was completely different from Seattle. The homes that you can buy down there in the $300,000 to $400,000 range, 3 bedrooms with a swimming pool, super nice. And I can flip a house there in 45 days for $50,000, which in Seattle would take 6 months and 3 times the price.
Yeah.
All of it combined was just mind blowing. I had no idea that market was so badass. So I flew down a bunch of investor partners with me. I said, where do we go invest, Cody? Like, where should I look? And he said, go to Chandler, go to Gilbert, go to Mesa, check out these neighborhoods and see what you fall in love with. And those are the hot spots. In the future, those are going to be the hot spots.
Mm-hmm.
Mesa specifically because they have the Legacy Sports Arena, which just got built at that time back January 2021 or 2000. Yeah, I think 2021 when they opened, and that's $1 billion facility that caters to thousands of high school and college athletes that fly into town every single weekend for their sports tournaments. I mean, they have like 30 basketball courts and like 25 volleyball courts and 8 baseball fields, and like all these kids and families are flying in. And Cody was like, he's like, it's not at the time it hadn't even been open yet. He's like, that when that launches, that's going to be bringing in thousands of kids and families who need to find housing to stay in near there. So I was like, cool.
And there's not a lot of hotels in that area either. It's not like there was anything to cater to them.
100%. And there's new construction homes and there's HOAs that still limit the amount of homes that you can be short-term rentals anyway. So Gilbert and Chandler, they're close enough. They're within 20 minutes, just from there. So I fell in love with Gilbert. I mean, I went to restaurants and the bars, and I could see the beautiful growth that they had just developed. This city within the last 5 years, many of the brand new restaurants had just opened or opened kind of in the pandemic period. So they were all just trying to get their footing. And a restaurant that holds 1,000 people and there's like multiple of them on the same block, I could sense what was going to happen. You know how awesome Scottsdale is, but Gilbert was like an adult playground versus like dancing on the tables and like getting bottle service and just like the crazy things that we used to do in our 20s. It's like we're past that, but we still want to go to nice restaurants and still have fun and like, but it's not as crazy as Scottsdale. The kids aren't there, the kids can stay in Tempe and we can go party in Gilbert and go to the speakeasies, and like it was so fun. So I found a couple homes in Gilbert, and not one but two, and I kind of bought them back to back. We remodeled them, turned them on, bought one for $375, bought one for $440, and our mortgage payment's like $2,200, and flipped the switch on those deals, and they've just been amazing. So Arizona and Discovery.
And did you see a dip out of curiosity? Like, I know during the Super Bowl time, everyone and their mother decided that they were going to have an Airbnb for the Super Bowl. Yep. So in the area in general, we had a big like decrease in the percentage. So did you see any changes at all during that time?
Yeah. I mean, we had our house booked out pretty early. So almost too early. I was like, dang, I wish we had like said no, because we probably could have got more money for it. But I think we were doing like $1,000 a night or something. So we still did good. And there were some other lessons that were learned. So we like right now it's dead. It's like what happens in June is like nobody goes to Arizona, and it does so well in winter. It does so well in spring. And then all of a sudden in June, I'm looking at it, I'm like, where did everybody go? But it's expected, I'm not surprised. And then same thing with my island houses. Like it's dead in winter because it's snowy and rainy up in Seattle. And now it's completely booked out. So seasons for each house, and that having the balance between two different seasonal houses is great, because at least one or two is producing while the other two are kind of resting. So what we had to do is we had to find some alternative solutions for that. So we don't just rely on short-term rentals. We also rely on long-term rentals. We found some partners to help us book the houses long-term. And so that's the goal. When it's the season's out, then we're going to the furnished finder. We're looking for insurance claims, tenants. We're looking for anyone who wants to rent the house for 6 months versus, the short term, because at least it's covering its nut. So it shouldn't be hard to do. These are beautiful houses.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I got a question real quick. I want to here. So you were kind of mentioning a couple of things, one being like the variable pricing and kind of kicking yourself for booking out a little too early. So for people that may not be as savvy or that are just kind of getting into this and thinking about doing short-term rental, do you have any advice, or maybe you could share some more specifics on how maybe to go about timing your pricing for these short-term rentals?
That's a good question. One thing that I did, because I don't have the time or the bandwidth to play with that every single day, I've learned through others and through our own methods that adjusting your pricing every few days, your minimum pricing or whatever, even if it's just by $1 or $5, is supposedly supposed to bump the algorithm. And I had noticed that if we do that, all of a sudden we get some more bookings. For some reason, you get to the top of the page if you do that. We also partnered up with a company that handles a lot of our booking management, and that's a company called Red Awning. And we created a property management company with them and partnership with them so that we can actually manage other people's properties, because they do limited management, right? They just handle the bookings. They handle the booking calendars, and they use their own technology there and their own AI to look at what all of the other homes are booking for in that period of time. And if there's a special event that comes up and they can see that things are adjusting accordingly, it'll adjust as well. So our system so we can set the minimum. We're like, we don't want any crackheads in our house, so we're going to put, we're not going under $150 a night, but it'll adjust it accordingly. And so it knew ahead of time that people were coming for Super Bowl. I knew that I probably could have held out longer and got a higher price, but it's not like we lost out, right?
Right. Yeah.
And the cool thing about the system that they've created is we're on 50 websites. We're on every website there is, and there's no other way anyone could manage something like that. Most most sites that allow you to book you on multiple sites will get you like 4 or 5. Their system puts you on every single one, syncs every single calendar. So if one site books, all the calendars synced. Then they handle all the communication. So I'm not dealing with any of the clients unless they're in the house and there's an issue that they need direct contact with, and then they can contact me directly. But they handle all the check-in, the checkout, the follow-up, making sure that we get reviews, etc. So we have a pretty well-oiled run machine that's just on auto. And then during the turnover and cleaning process, we have our own cleaners, and their calendars are synced with Red Awnings as well. So it's so turnkey, and I just look at the emails that come in, and I literally rarely have to do anything.
That's awesome.
Perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Jake's like, yes, sign me up, please. Give me properties.
If you guys want a referral, please let them know that I referred you, because we get a little kickback, but they're only 10%. So for those that are interested in doing property management and building a business with this, they're not that much more than you would already pay Airbnb or any of these other sites anyways. They're just a small fee on top of it, which is crazy. I don't even know how they make money with that, right. But it's very well worth it to not have to deal with the headache. Now I have them out
for mine.
Exactly. So if I want to do property management and I want to help other people that don't want to deal with anything, well, then we can charge 20%, right? And then we can get the difference. So they really created a program for property management companies like us to work with them and utilize their technology.
Okay.
So they really are more of a B2C type of, a B2B type of business. They don't like not that they don't like individual customers, but they really prefer to work with property management companies like ours and others that are building out their client base, because that's just what they're good at, right? So just keep that in mind. If anyone wants a referral for that, please reach out, and I'm happy to send that your way.
Yeah. All right. So you got started. Did you have a regular W-2 job before you got started? Before you read that little purple, Rich Dad, Poor Dad? It seems to be like the gateway book. It's like the gateway drug is Rich Dad, Poor Dad, right? Everyone talks about Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Were you working like a regular W-2 before that?
No. I've been an entrepreneur since college. I've never had a job. I had internships in college, but I knew in my college, my first job was while I was in college. My first business was in college, and I created a company that, oddly enough, I didn't know at the time that this is the career that I would go into. I had a dorm roommate who sold Top Producer, which is a software for real estate agents, and he would sell it, and he was making so much money. He was making more money than I could even understand at the time. Maybe it wasn't a lot. They call it, looking back now, but I don't remember how much it was. It seemed like a lot,
right?
And he was like, "Hey, man, you should help me sell Top Producer, and you should become a trainer, and you should go out and train real estate agents on how to use the software," because it was like several $1,000s, and you'd get it and you wouldn't know how to use it because it was so robust. It was a really robust CRM program for real estate agents. And so we opened an office, and I had this $5,000 inheritance from my grandparents who had passed away. And I asked my parents if I could use it to start our business. So I opened an office in downtown Seattle. We bought fax machines because that's how you had to communicate back then. There was no email. There was email, but it really wasn't.
Right. What's a fax?
No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, what's a fax? A fax machine, you scan this paperwork, I'd scan a flyer in, and then I'd spam every real estate agent office in every major city. And we would pick these locations. And I'd be like, all right, we're going to Atlanta.
Gosh, just fax spam back in the day.
That's spamming all these offices that bought Top Producer. And then we'd sell trainings for like $500 a pop. And then we'd fly. I'd like take a test on a Thursday and I'd fly to Atlanta or fly to New Orleans. And I'd go and teach adults, college kids coming in and teaching these adults. And I would never say how old I was. I'd be like, I just walk in and do a 2-day training. And so we were making money in between our classes, flying around the country.
Wow.
And that was my bug. Like that, once that bug bit me as an entrepreneur, I was like, I'm never getting a job. And my parents were always like, okay, go apply for Amazon, go apply for da-da-da. And I was like, I don't want to work these shitty. Even if I wasn't making a lot of money, I just knew that being an entrepreneur, having my own office, I felt so excited and proud of myself for like sitting in my office that I put all this together. And we eventually folded that company because he tried to steal a bunch of money from me, the little fucker. And but
so good lesson learned there.
Lesson learned was like, watch your money and like, be careful who you work with. And anyway, shit happens.
Well, but I'm sure there was, again, lessons learned and like things that you do differently now because of that experience, right?
Oh my God, I've been ripped off so many times. I've like had there's so many different ways that you have to guard yourself. And you put a lot of trust in your partnerships. You put a lot of trust in the people you work with. And I've made mistakes too, where not where I'm attempting to take people's money, but like I have learned to be more careful about how I present myself and how I handle people's money based on the lessons that I've learned from other people who have purposely tried to take my money, right? Yeah. I want to be so much more ethical and so much more upfront about everything and make sure that my partnerships are fair. And it's just really important to me that people who either loan me money or partner with me in a deal, that they feel and are being treated equally in the roles that they participate in. And so
that shows up in your personality, Dominic, because I've met a lot of people in this industry that have been, the real estate agent, and you get like that sleazy salesman vibe from them. Like they're still just a hustler agent and you feel like they're going to do something slimy behind your back, but like you don't give off that vibe at all. Like you are probably one of the most down to earth, caring people that I have met at any of the networking events that I've been to. And that says a lot.
I think that comes down to like not being desperate, like the people that have taken money from me, they were always desperate. They always were broke. They always needed more because of whatever reason was in their situation in their life. And not that I haven't felt like I was in a bad position or in a financial strain, but you just can't be in the mental capacity where you need to take someone's money or do something wrong. Like I just would never do that. I just could never live with myself. I made that an ethical point of mine from a long time ago. And there's been situations where we've done deals, we flipped houses where we lost money, and I've had to write checks. I had a deal just last year. We built a house, new construction, spent 3 freaking years going through permitting, an extra year of delays, and all of those extra costs that built up over the final year. We expected it to be a 2-year project. It turned out to be a 3-year project. All that added up, and we lost money, and the market shifted. And I had to write a check for $35,000 and then make another payment plan for another investor. And I was like, wow, how the fuck did this happen? Like, this wasn't supposed to happen this way, but I did what I had to do to make sure that my investor partners were made whole. And that story is important to me because no matter what, I just want to make sure that if I'll do whatever I can to make sure that our investors are recouped. And that's happened more than once. Doesn't happen every time, but it's like, I'm so careful now. And that's one reason why I got out of the flipping business, because I just couldn't stand the stress anymore. That stress of borrowing people's money and putting it into the hands of my contractors and other people. It's not just me that's running these projects.
Right.
I'm relying on other people to do what they say that they're going to do and get things done on the time that they say they're going to get it done. And when it didn't happen, I was like, I can't control enough of this. I can only control what I can control. And so going into building vacation rentals and remodeling those on my own with my partners, it's like we completely shifted the model, because if I had held any of those houses that flipped and that we didn't make money on for even 1 year, we would have made money.
Right.
It was like I didn't realize that if I had held a house longer, like plan longer. If I had told my investors that, hey, this isn't a 1 year plan, I'm borrowing your money for him. I'm not going to return your money in a year. I'm going to return it in 2 years, and just held the house for 1 year, all of the houses would have been profitable. It's crazy how much appreciation can help. And so that's one lesson. If I was flipping houses now, I would try to hold on to those houses for at least 2 years, 1 or 2 years, because you will make a lot more money on them, and you'll pay less taxes on them if you can avoid some of the capital gains. It's like there's so many lessons you can learn from just planning longer. Things don't have to be in such short-term plans, but a lot of times you need the money. If you have hard money lenders, they want their money. It's difficult, but flipping houses, you can lose a lot of money very easily. And who gets paid first? The freaking lenders. Yeah. So if there's a way to plan for longer, I wish I had thought of that a long time ago, because I look back at all the homes that I flipped and I'm like, damn, they're worth so much more money now.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Do you have any other questions, Jake?
No, just as always, I think I always appreciate our guests and everything, but Dominic, the information you shared about short-term rentals, especially, that was red awning, for anybody that didn't get that before. Just thank you for pouring into this, and like Marie said, definitely one of the more genuine people I've ever met at these networking events and everything. He actually, for anybody watching, forced a waiter to divide up our bill 17 different ways to make sure it was fair at the restaurant, and everybody was like equally divided. So just to substantiate that,
well, it was either that or credit card roulette,
right?
Yeah.
Or either one.
Yeah, that was great. But before we jump off here, Dominic, question for you. I want to hear just a little bit about your latest B&B in Tulum and how you got into that in Mexico, and then just let everyone know how to get in touch with you if they want to work with you or do some property management or get into short-term rentals.
Awesome. Yeah. So as over the last couple of years, I do have these less expensive homes relative, to the $1 million homes. So we, our business model is to buy $400,000 or under $500,000 homes. Tulum, Mexico is a special place, and it's such a beautiful place. And I fell in love with it 5 years ago. I went down there a couple of years ago, and I saw something that I've never seen before. And that was a city that was completely rebuilding from the ground up, brand new construction everywhere. So Tulum, Mexico has a massive development project going. Every single home is being built by these really amazing architects and designers. The homes are just gorgeous. And there's a lot of the whole city is getting new infrastructure, new sewers, new streets. And the beaches there are unlike anywhere else. The cenotes are unlike anywhere else in the world. There's like over 3,000 swimming pools or cenotes. And you're in a jungle, which is a little bit different than a lot of other parts of Mexico. It's just really, really beautiful. And so when I went down there in December 2 years ago, I decided to take a tour of some real estate down there. And during that tour, they showed me some properties that I just fell in love with. I just love the construction. I just love the beauty of it. And the developer was like, yeah, you can buy this house for $330,000. I'll build one for you. And I'm like, you're going to build this brand new house with a swimming pool on the roof, 2 jacuzzis, 15-foot ceilings, glass doors that slide all the way open, all the way across the wall. Just gorgeous, right? Just super, super, super luxury. It'd be $2 million if it was in Seattle. And I was like, for $330,000, that's amazing.
Right.
So I didn't know at the time how I would do it, but I said, okay, well, I'll put a $5,000 deposit down. We have a couple months to kind of plan ahead and how we're going to make this work. But what we did is we created a 10-month payment plan because he was going to build it over the next 10 months. And so for $330,000, I just had to make a payment every month for the next 10 to 12 months. So I made a few phone calls to people in the mastermind that I'm in.
Mm-hmm.
And I reached out to investors and I just said, hey, who's interested in investing in a property in Tulum? We'll go in as partners of 4 or partners of 5. And everyone that I talked to was like, I'm in. So,
yeah.
And the cool thing, like you said, it was a lot of trust. I had to trust this developer. I had to trust that we were sending our money to someone that I believed in. And all of the people that partnered with me had to believe in me, that I knew what I was doing with this guy.
Yeah.
And that was a lot of risk on all of our parts, because you just never know, especially when you're building something out of the country. But everything worked out perfectly. Almost. So we got the house built.
Aside from the furniture, right? Was it the furniture hiccup?
Yeah. I'm gonna have to do a little shout out to anyway, we got the house built. It was finished, and there's 5 partners on it, so we split that 335 ways. And the beauty of the design about building in Tulum and having a vacation rental down there is that our next door neighbor, they built 2 houses. So we have twin houses right next to each other. The top producing properties in Tulum are homes that aren't just a single home, but that market themselves as multiple homes. Or let me rephrase it. They have one listing that has a listing that sleeps like 10 or 15 people, but the houses are actually multiple houses. But your listing doesn't necessarily say that it's multiple houses.
Gotcha.
We're marketing, hey, we got 6 bedrooms, we have 2 swimming pools, we have 4 jacuzzis. That looks badass to a group of 15 people that want to come down to Tulum together. Right. Well, we can charge a lot more for that. And ultimately the top revenue homes in Tulum all do that. And so luckily my next door neighbor has the exact same house. So we're co-marketing and co-branding our properties together to sleep 20 people, right? Like our house can sleep 10 between our 3 bedrooms. We put multiple beds in each room and we have couches and stuff. And so our house can sleep 10, their house can sleep 8. So we have 18, can sleep 8, two rooftop pools, et cetera, et cetera. So this house potentially will pay itself off in the first year, second year. Nice. We'll see how it goes. There's still a lot more construction that needs to be done surrounding that neighborhood. I didn't realize that how much, I didn't think that our house would be done first and that the whole rest of the block was still under construction too. Yeah. So it's still a construction zone where it is, but the house is done. It's so sick. It's so awesome. I got to stay there a couple of months ago for the first time. And so for those
is your plan to do more properties in Tulum?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah. I went down and I hired a company out of Miami called Bongo Stays. Shout out to that piece of shit company. They're a bunch of scam artists. So don't hire them. Don't work with them. Their names are all over the place. They promote.
Yes, I think this is the first time that someone actually named a specific company to stay away from on the podcast.
We've had an individual, but never a full-blown company.
Okay, yes, I'm so excited right now. Okay, say that name one more time.
Bongo Stays. They are, man. They're just here's their
they
scam.
were supposed to furnish the property for you. Is that what I understand?
Scam. And they do property management, but I hear they do terrible property management. And what they do is they furnish your houses too. They furnish vacation rentals. So there's a scam. What they do is they give you amazing service up front. So they charge us $50,000. I've hired them for the premium package. I want the premium furniture. I want it done in 4 weeks. I want it done fast. I hired them back in like November of last year. And so they started out strong. They put in about half of the furniture. And then from there, they were like, oh, it's delayed. It's delayed. Oh, it's coming next week. Oh, it's on order. Delayed. It's on blah, 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 blah. Like all the way up until May. And I'm like, I'm flying down. I got guests coming in. You told me it was going to be done. I get to the house and it was still exactly how it had been in January. And I was like, you guys haven't been here at all. You haven't done anything that you said you're going to do. You promised me you're going to do this stuff. And then I go on their site and I and their reviews, and I find a couple other people this happened to as well. I start communicating with a few others and realize that through other people's research as well, that what they do is they just give you killer upfront service. They produce really fast, and then they just keep the other half of your money, and then they just dick you along until you're so far past the point of return that you're just like, I give up, I guess. I don't know. Like and then you can't find them. They just disappear on you. And they have no corporate office. So things that I didn't realize, I just assumed they were a legit company because they look so professional and they seem so professional. Then you refer your friends. So they came to me as a referral. Well, the person that referred me, she had hired them for 4 houses and they screwed her over. So they give you all this great service up front and then just screw you over. And so they owe us $20,000 plus. And so I don't know if we'll ever get that money back. Can we sue them? Maybe, but like, I know how much it costs to sue people. They're like, I wish the FBI could get involved because they're taking tens and tens of thousands of dollars from a lot of people and doing this to a lot of people. So just be warned, people. Don't use bongo stays. And Frank Valencia, who's the CEO, is a piece of shit.
Thank you. Public service announcement right there, everybody.
I mean, I'm on their website. It looks professional.
It looks really good. They're very, very legit looking.
Yeah. Okay. So we do have a comment that Richard Main says he wants more info for Dominic for future projects. I'm assuming he wants to maybe get in touch with you for future projects. So maybe you want your contact info. Great.
So my website, we're launching like this week. This is the first week that we're actually launching our business. I've been working on this thing for a long time. It's called Grandeur Getaways, GRANDEUR Getaways.com. Hopefully you guys can post something like that. So Grandeur Getaways is our company. So we're operating in Washington, in Arizona, and Tulum, Mexico. And I have a whole because of the bongo stays fiasco, I found another team and I had to go out and figure out how to do the furnishing myself. And I did. Wait.
Did I spell this correctly? Is it G?
Yeah, you did. That's awesome. Perfect. So Grandeur Getaways, you can hyphen it or not hyphen it.com. And that's where we are. Sweet. And you can see, and we're uploading our properties on there now. So people, if they would want to, rent our houses, they can, or, reach out to me if you guys want any help with management or with sourcing deals. We can help you guys furnish your houses. We can help you do all the things that we've learned over the last several years on how to do. My goal has been to create efficiencies. So like when my friend came in and she was like, can I just buy all your furniture? Well, that lesson that I learned is I partnered up with furnishing companies and with interior designers who will do all of the work preparing the furniture for us and having it delivered in one day. So you can have your house furnished and ready to go in one day instead of me having to order all the Amazon boxes and opening them all and putting the furniture together myself. That takes a long time and it's a super headache. I can have a whole other team do that for us and have it professionally designed and installed in one day. That alone is like the biggest lifesaver for me. And now we can provide that service for others.
Sweet. Okay. And what's the easiest way for people to get in touch with you directly on, let's say, Instagram?
Instagram is easy. That's Dominate Real Estate at Dominate Real Estate.
Nice.
And my Facebook is just facebook.com/DomWood.
DomWood. All right. Perfect. Well, again, thank you so much, Dominic. It was a pleasure hearing your stories and listening to all of your luxury B&B locations. I definitely want to check out some in the Seattle area, as well as Tulum, because I worked in Cancun. It's sad to say 20 years ago, and Tulum there was nothing there. There was like one hotel on the beach, and then Tulum was just a big beach and, like you said, jungle. Right. There were barely any shops, anything there. So I can't wait to get back down there and see how much it's grown in the last 20 years.
Yeah, one last thing about Tulum is that it's like a wellness retreat center. So once I realized that, I was like, let's start doing wellness retreats down there. Let's bring entrepreneurs, people who want to kind of like mastermind together. Let's bring them down and do some wellness retreats, yoga, breath work, wellness stuff. And because our house is literally called the Holistica Resort Center of Tulum. And so across the street is this huge, beautiful resort for all of those types of modalities and people that can help us do that kind of wellness stuff. And then we're like also 10 minutes from the beach. So we can go get healthy and then go drink our faces off down at the beach club.
Nice. I'm starting to think, tax savings here.
Yeah. And then for those that are interested, we can go look at real estate together. So it's a great way to, like, if you want to get your resort on, like, let's go build some more houses. So we're putting all of that type of things together. I'll have those types of things on the grangergetaways.com website in the near future, because we're in planning right now for those types of retreats that we'll put together. So that's super exciting. The more fun things that Grandeur Getaways is putting together is not just houses and those things, but actual experiences that we can create for other people to really enjoy travel.
Nice.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. And listen, entrepreneurs need that, right? They need that
100%.
Getting back in touch with themselves and that relaxation and all that. So,
yeah.
All right. It was a pleasure. Again, thank you so much, Dominic.
Thanks, guys.
And look forward to seeing you at our next mastermind.
Absolutely.
Awesome. We'll see you in Austin. All right.
Yep.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.